Good morning, everyone. We'll call the Crow Wing County Personnel Committee meeting to order for October 5, 2020. Our first agenda item is the staff update from Mr. Eric Flowers, our Veteran Services Officer. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I just want to thank you for allowing me to come and update you. It's kind of the last quarter, beginning of a new quarter before the end of the year. And it's been a while since we met, so just want to keep the communications open. With the COVID-19 going through the office, activity in our office has been slowed down a little bit more than normal, yet we see it picking up since this integrated kind of appointments and soft openings of the county. As of right now, our yearly totals are for visits, so in-office visits is 1,068 altogether so far. April we had as little as 10, and so now we're seeing numbers up to about 153 as of September. So they're picking up again, which is good. It allows us to get our claims processed through. What we did before then, when our numbers were low, is we did a lot of emailing, faxing, and conversations over the phone. And so those numbers, as you'll look at, we had 4,052 phone contacts that were marked down. So our phone contacts are up because we've been doing our interviews over the phone and adjusting that way to make sure that our claims and our veterans are getting taken care of. Lots of mail correspondence, that's typically normal, that have been coming through. We're at about, I would say, it looks like almost 4,000 mail coming in and going out. Some of that has to do with mailing claims back and forth, having them sign and bring them up to us, but our numbers are up for that. Emails have been definitely generated a lot more. As of the COVID, the technology has been advancing, and our clients and our veterans and us have been moving towards that a little bit more, which has been very helpful for transactions. Our outreach, we actually have 44 outreaches for the year so far. Those outreaches would be either visits to nursing homes, or places, homes where they can't get through. A lot of that came before the COVID-19, but some of that has been under restrictions with a few exceptions, with precautions taken very, very seriously in order to get this taken care of. People like in hospice and veterans in hospice and stuff like that to try to get those claims through. We have created a total of 151 new records, so new clients that have come into our office this year altogether. So each month, to put it in perspective, monthly, we have 118 visits on average for the year, 450 phone contacts per month, 16 new records created or new clients coming into our office. And we've generated on average 203 forms. So those forms can be anything from address changes to new claims being processed to direct deposit changes, anything like that. So I'm pretty happy to see that our numbers are starting to go up, and it does reflect that. Our office has been working really hard to make sure that our services are available even when it's a little bit different. And I think we've been doing an outstanding job with a mix of that. The Blue Water Navy Act had changed at the beginning of the year, so it allows new claims for those Navy veterans within the 12 nautical miles of the coast of Vietnam. And we have been processing a lot of those claims for the different presumptive conditions that they were not recognized prior to last year or to the beginning of the year. We've seen a lot of success in those claims and a lot of veterans who are getting compensated for those presumptive conditions or illnesses and injuries that they received while they did their duty in Vietnam. I think I mentioned this before, but our largest number that we've seen for compensation that has come through our office was a little over $300,000 compensation check coming back. So we see a lot of 40s and 50s, and the emotions that we see from these veterans, especially in a time of COVID, when these checks are coming through, have been goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps, and it's just nice to know that we're there to help them through that process and get them what they deserve. So, any questions at all before I move on?
But
Eric, the 16 new clients you mentioned, what are they new, the younger war era veterans, or what's the breakout of those 16?
So it's there's no rhyme or reason. We're getting new ones as well as Vietnam veterans and anything in between. So I think a lot of it, I've been doing radio shows, I have a segment on the radio throughout the area every Friday at the end of the month, or one Friday a month at the end of the month. And, I've been talking, most of it's been talking about the grants, but I think just getting out there on the radio, getting out there in person as much as I can to promote, hey, come on in. I think a lot of it might also be that I might be newer and they want to try see their chance at with somebody else. I don't know why they're coming in, but it's not a specific group of age categories or anything like that. It varies for sure. So
Eric, a question. What have you received as feedback from the vets, because you can't have that as robust of an in-person interview with them? Have
Sure.
you had any feedback, and can you kind of have a feel for how that's impacting the vets?
Well, this isolation, I think, it affects our vets just like it affects anybody else for our demographics and our population in Crow Wing County. The feedback that I've received from our vets is there's some frustration. There's also understanding, and our veterans have been very understanding with this whole process. Whether they agree with it or not, in the mask and the shutdown, they've been really receptive and open to understanding that. The hesitations of, there's been a lot of, I want to see you in person, I want to be there in person. That has, I wouldn't say that that's changed at all, that desire or that want, but it's definitely something that we say, well, let's do the interview over the phone. Let's see what we can do over the phone, what I can generate and get taken care of, and then we can meet in the parking lot for signatures just to keep everybody safe and these precautions. And our veterans have responded, I think, very well to this whole pandemic and for this whole year. I think in the beginning everybody thought that it wasn't going to be this long, and it's still going on. And, the grants that are out there, the mental health aspects of it, there's some frustrations with the VA, but the VA is doing their best to be able to transition to this as well. VA is a very large facility. The mental health portion of it has responded back, with more teleconference. And that's not really a great way for mental health, doctoring, really. But it is something that is out there for them rather than nothing. And, it's that connectivity, I think, is what we need to keep with each other. And I felt like our office has done a very good job of maintaining that connection with our veterans in every way that we can.
So let me reverse the question then. From the perspective of the staff, do you see I'm not sure I'm going to say this correctly, but less of an ability to understand their particular situation? Because eyeball to eyeball, you read a lot of nonverbals and that into their presentation to you. Do you as staff feel that you're not getting quite the quality of feedback or understanding, I guess would be a better word to say, of their situation?
Trying to think of, okay, so the staff, I think, have really good training, working with the staff on how to kind of read into things. We've gotten accustomed of how veterans talk and how we, throughout multiple interviews, we kind of understand if they're withholding information a little bit, not because they're, just because of they're not there and it's not as personal. When we do sense that, or when we do feel like there's more that we need to extract out of them for the interview process to make the best claim possible to put forward to the VA, we have been setting up those appointments with the restrictions inside. So the appointments have been big, and understanding that we need to make further connection with that and gather more information from them. Staff are really good with interpersonal communication skills for sure, and talking with our veterans. So, we hear things that spouses have never even heard before, that the veteran hasn't shared with their spouse, and we're still receiving that information. So that speaks widely on how much our office is able to gain trust with our veterans. And just that connection and that understanding with them is to continue to get that information for their claim.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And lastly, I would like to just kind of talk about our SSAP program, or the state's Soldiers Assistance Program through Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs, and kind of some of our other funding that we receive, local funding in that. So SSAP has been our greatest grant, what we're able to go out and get grants for our veterans. It can go anywhere between the one-time special needs grant, which is, can replace up to, they say up to $5,000, but we saw a $10,000 grant given out, which is double of what they normally do. Also with the COVID-19 disaster relief grant, and there's been a couple COVID-19 special needs grants out there, which does not take place of the regular special needs grant. We've had $169,274 come through our SSAP and grant monies towards helping our veterans out. Like I said, the COVID-19 grants have been a big contributor to that, but we continue to see that. Now, last year's, we were at about 108 for the full year, and we still have 3 months left. And so our numbers are definitely up in that area. And we continue to, we're hoping to, we surpassed our goal for sure. I set a number at 125 at the beginning of the year, and that was quickly met. And so I'm continuing to have to reset our office goals for what we want to try to meet before the end of the year. So, and then altogether, we've had like MACV. I don't have the numbers for MACV and what they've helped out with. MACV is an organization that helps out with homelessness and keeping veterans from becoming homeless. So they'll help veterans get into a rental by paying a deposit, maybe the first month's rent. They'll help pay utilities. They'll help pay certain things like that to keep their house or keep their lease. All of these programs that I'm talking about really are not just give-outs. They're not handed out. They are based on sustainability. And so our veterans, and we refer them and we counsel them, how are you going to sustain this after you get your help? Are you going to be able to continue to keep this? What changes are going to have to be made to keep this level of sustainability and not have to come back looking for more? They've helped out. The Minnesota Homeless Wounded Warriors have helped out a lot. With COVID, a lot of those grant funds have gone down a little bit, but we've seen about $20,000 additional dollars come through between Homeless Wounded Warriors, the local DAV, and VFW, and the Region 5 Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Grant. So we've been helping a lot of veterans out, so.
Very good. So could you just tell us a little bit about your experience out west?
Yes, thank you for asking, so we found out, I'm with the Brainerd Fire Department, like you guys know, but just for record, so everyone knows. We were given notice on, I think it was Friday, that the deployment was going to be coming, a deployment out to Oregon to help with the wildfires out there was going to happen, and we were given, it was going to say that we were leaving that weekend. So just a couple days notice. We did find out on Sunday that it was a go, that everything went through. And so I had a limited time, and I was planning as soon as I found out about it with family and making sure that everything was good, with work, of course, and the office. And we were told that we were leaving on Tuesday. So lots of background development, making sure that everything was going to be fine. I didn't want to leave my family or the office without resources and needs, and make sure that it was fine. The office and the staff in there have been excellent, and they've proved that, and they were supportive of me going. And so I wouldn't have even thought about it had the staff not been supportive of me to go. We made a trip out there. We left on Tuesday, and we were in the old 1992 engine 2 truck that we have. The foam is wore down, and so and you pretty much sit forward in it with the air packs and everything. So imagine 35 hours of driving time behind that, and we got out there. But I think before I left, or when we were leaving in the mornings, you could definitely see the smoke in the air if you saw the sunrise and even at nighttime, and that smoke was actually coming from the Oregon fires. Originally, we were tasked to help out with the Salem fires out there, which is just north of Eugene and south of Portland. But halfway through a day in there, our orders changed, and they wanted us to go help with the California-Oregon border fires, the Slater fire, which had consumed, I think it was, at the time, it was 152,000 acres of forest, and it had gone through the town of Medford, which pretty much burned up every house in Medford. A little over, I think, 500 structures and homes. And there's a few other towns that literally are no longer there anymore. And so that's when we were called out there. The whole drive out there was smoke everywhere. We're like, it's got to be close by, and we're in North Dakota at the time, When we got out there, it was definitely heavy fog. The weather had corrected and helped out a lot as far as for firefighters. The humidity rose. There's a lot of fire science between it, which I won't bore you, but it slowed down the fires a lot. And so we were there. We were tasked with 2 task force groups in Minnesota. We were task force 1, and we were with 5 other departments, a group of 14 people altogether in our group. And we were there for patrolling, hitting the fire edge, mopping up, which means putting out any hot spots, cleaning up, making sure that fire didn't reignite and cross the line. We did structural protection, kind of assess the triage, the buildings, make sure that there was leaves and pine needles and stuff, that the roofs were cleared, the gutters were cleared so they wouldn't catch an ember, clear away anything close to the house, different things like that. We slept in tents the whole time there, so I'm kind of a camper, but my air pad did not work most of the time out there. So by the end of it, I was totally fine sleeping on the ground. But I was definitely nice to hit the pillow at home, in the bed at home when I got home. just the whole experience, I would say, was not what I expected. When you're driving out there, you're expecting huge fire and trees and stuff like that. So with Wildland Fire, this was kind of our first assignment for that, and it was great experience. I got to have a lot of experience and knowledge to bring back home to Minnesota and to our area. I would say the most humbling experience about it, and it was very humbling, was the generosity and the civilians there that were just willing to thank you signs all over. And at first they were like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then you think about it, they're actually in either lost all their house and everything that they had, or they're in jeopardy of losing all that stuff. So to think that, they're wanting to give us food cards or different things like that, when they have nothing, it was, they were just very appreciative. And thinking back to my family and what we are here, not affected by those wildfires, just, it was pretty humbling for sure. A week before we got there, or a couple days before we got there, when the wildfires were going really, really strong, they say you can't, it's not like a hurricane, it's not like a tornado, the sound of the fire coming through, it's unexplainable how they were. And in the daytime, middle of the daytime, it was literally, you couldn't hardly see your hand in front of your face. Just orange, if it was black to orange to red. But the area that we were patrolling and the houses that were affected or almost affected were, there was a river that went through there, and they were plucking people out of the river, family members like children and families that went into the river for safety, to keep cool, to not, and they would put their head underwater until they needed air. They'd come up and they'd get air, and then they'd go back down underwater. So that illustration to me alone was just, we're out there to help, not just Crow Wing County, not just Brainerd, not just Baxter, not just Minnesota, but the service of when people call for help, we go for help. And quickly, just to finish this off, we were recognized as Minnesotans. We had traveled the farthest to go out and help. We answered the call. Hard workers, and just adaptability, doing whatever we were asked to do. And so they were very appreciative of that, and we were recognized for being Minnesotans pretty much, in our work ethic and attitude. So,
Well, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
I think around the country, Minnesotans are recognized for their work ethic. They always are looking. If you go to Texas, they want Minnesota people to come down there and work, because we do work.
yeah,
Once we get acclimated, I'm not sure we'd work in that heat quite as well, but initially, we are a sturdy group. We're hard workers, and I think that's recognized across the country. So
absolutely.
thank you for, how many actually firefighters from here were deployed?
There was four firefighters from Brainerd.
Okay.
Cross Lake had 2 or 3, I believe, also go. And then the rest were Eden Prairie, Bemidji, SBM, which is Spring Lake, Blaine, and Mounds View, I think.
Okay.
Foley or not Foley, Motley, and then one up north. So, yeah,
Wow. Pretty good representation, though.
very good.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the report on your office. And thank your staff for carrying on while you were gone, but also during the whole COVID thing.
Yes,
Appreciate it very much. It's a struggle to not have the vets in the office and be able to listen to their story and support them. So
yep.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mel, it's up to you now.
Okay, Commissioners, good morning. So I just wanted to know, you to know that I think it's been so important to have Eric here representing the VSO office. So if at any time that you feel that Personnel Committee is not the place to do that, but he felt really strongly that he wanted to come. So, and I absolutely want to keep that door open for him to do that.
Yes.
So, okay, let's go through personnel actions, or that personnel action report. You should have a copy of that in front of you. Let's see, we have a few replacement staffing in our land service department. We did have a retirement that is we're replacing that position. We also, over in our community services, have two people that will be leaving us. One went to our court administration for the state, and then the second person is leaving the county for another opportunity elsewhere. And then in our sheriff's office, we have a records person who is actually joining a company down in Little Falls. She actually has an HR background, and that was her goal, is to get a position within her field. So, and then we do have a correctional officer that will be leaving us as of October 14th. So we may be replacing that. We have somebody coming back from a military deployment that we had filled earlier last year, but now he will be coming back at some point. So we will keep you updated on when that full leave comes. So that replacement may be that person coming back from military leave. And then hires, we've had some really good movement happen over in our land service department. We have a new person who started today, and I'm replacing somebody who was promoted over to our environmental services area. And then you'll see a couple in community services that we just talked about that left us, and the different hires that have come in to replace those positions. All of these are part of that 2020 budget, so nothing outside of the budget. And then in land services, we do have somebody retiring very soon here on October 16th. So we have that person starting on October 14th to replace that person. And then departures, we do have had to say goodbye to a couple of our interns this year, two in IT that we had doing some special project work, one on the tech side and then one on the business intelligence side. That was a new type of intern that we've had before, so it was a great opportunity for us. Those were positions that we had funding for through Sourcewell. And then we have to say goodbye to one of our favorite IT people that is moving to the Twin Cities to be with his wife, recently married, and moving to a position in the Twin Cities. So sad day for IT, but I'm sure that we'll be able to attract a really good candidate for that position. And then we've already talked about the other departure from our sheriff's office, as well as our probation team over in community services. Is there any questions on, hold on, and then you'll see the correctional officer and then the community services position. Does anybody have any questions for me on those positions? It's been a busy time.
Doesn't
Yeah,
look
well,
like it.
right, and then just another thing that we won't put all the separations on, but we're working through all of our aquatic inspectors, all of their temporary assignments, so all of those separations will be going through very soon once our payroll process is done. I think they did an incredible job. We rehired about 23 from the previous year to that team, and we hired over 63, I believe, to that team. So that's an incredible amount of people helping to keep, all those zebra mussels away from our lakes. So hopefully they did a good job at that boat inspection. So potentially. We've already, what you heard Mr. Hull ask is that any of those could possibly help in our elections. And we've already circled back with our Land Services Director to see if they could help out in elections, so.
Mr. Chair, now, has it been worth having, for the inspections, us bringing staff on and we do the hiring versus using an employment service?
I think so. I think we've gotten a really strong quality of candidate, and to have a repeat person come back is less training that, the county has to expend on that person, as well as when you have somebody repeating, coming back, through our process, they can actually take on, the decontamination type of role. They can take on a higher level type of role and be more flexible throughout the county. So I would say yes. It's a huge feat to undertake, but we have, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there is a cost-saving measures for us to be able to hire somebody. Versus paying out those service fees to a temporary agency, so.
Okay.
Okay, so no other questions, all right? Okay. So the next thing is, before we go into closed session, I just wanted to remind you of a couple things that are coming our way that you would be able to participate in, is that we're going to be doing on-campus flu shots this year. So if you have the need to get a flu shot and you haven't done so already, you can get that. We have various times and dates set up for the campus, whether it's out on for our highway crew, out on in the highway department, our jail crew, very special hours for them. But the main times will be in our meeting rooms 1 and 2 over in our Land Services Department, and this is just for employees and their families, on October 20th from 8 to 11, and then October 28th from 2 to 5. And we do have a Guide Point Pharmacy is our main vendor that's going to be doing that this year for us. We haven't done on-site flu shots for a number of years. I don't know exactly the last time that we did those. So I think in light of our current pandemic, this will be a really good service for our employees and for you yourselves if that is of a need for you. And then we do have open enrollment coming for benefits. So if you yourselves or any employee has any questions, we have numerous avenues that we're going to help people with open enrollment this year with no changes to our benefit plan and a zero renewal. There's no plan changes, so open enrollment should be fairly easy, but if you have any specific questions yourselves or employees, we do have virtual sessions set up. We have sessions set up in our computer training room, or we can meet one-on-one with employees. So more information on that coming very soon. Okay, Darcy, I think that ends the open session of our meeting.
Okay, I'll stop here. Give me a second here.
Do you want me to announce that we're going into closed session for specific statute?
Sure.
Okay. Commissioners and Board Chair Barrows, we will be going into closed session per statute, Minnesota State Statute 13D. The first closed session will be pursuant to Minnesota State Statute 13D.05, subdivision 2, subdivision A, and then 3. And this is for personal health data.